Doctor Who actor David Tennant revealed just who he is, what his character is like when he accepted an award at the British LGBT Awards and wished or hoped that a British politician who opposes him politically and ideologically does not exist anymore. Very sick stuff here. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at the Trent Report. Wrote this up over at thatparkplace.com. I'll have the link in the description below. But this is what Tennant had to say.
With a slogan, I attract the ire of the occasional online idiot. But I don't have social media, so even I have to be told about that by my brilliant wife, Georgia, who is the real engine behind anything we do. She educates me about empathy and understanding, and she has been a huge educator for me. But I suppose if I'm honest, I'm a little depressed by the fact that acknowledging that everyone has the right to be who they want to be and live their life how they want to live it, as long as they're not hurting anyone else, should merit any kind of special award or special mention, because it's common sense, isn't it? It is human decency. We shouldn't live in a world where that is worth remarking on. However, until we wake up and Kemi Badenoch doesn't exist anymore, I don't wish ill of her. I just wish her to shut up.
Notice how he had to correct himself there, because he literally just said, until we live in a world where she doesn't exist anymore. And then he's like, I don't wish ill of her. I wish her to shut up. Well, what does it mean when you don't wish her to exist anymore? And that sounds like you want her to either self-delete, you want to kill her, you want her to die. Sounds like what you want to do. So you are indeed wishing ill on her, David Tennant, you absolute liar.
Whilst we do live in this world, I am honored to receive this. I'm thrilled to be here and to be.
So he just kind of finishes up by thanking everyone else in the crowd. Badenoch did respond to him. She wrote this on X: I will not shut up. I will not be silenced by men who prioritize applause from Stonewall over the safety of women and girls. A rich lefty white male celebrity so blinded by ideology he can't see the optics of attacking the only black woman in government by calling publicly for my existence to end. Tennant is one of Labor's celebrity supporters. This is an early example of what life will be like if they win. Keir Starmer stood by while Rosie Duffield was hounded. He and his supporters will do the same with the country. Do not let the bigots and bullies win, she concluded. So let's address what Tennant actually had to say here. His entire speech is hypocritical. On the one hand, he claims you should just let people live the way they want to live if they aren't harming anyone. And in the next breath, he's wishing someone who opposes his evil ideological and political machinations to cease to exist. It's despicable behavior from someone with a warped and twisted morality. Furthermore, this libertarian idea of just letting people alone if they are not hurting anyone else is not common sense at all. It's completely illogical. Why would you want to let someone commit emotional, spiritual, and physical harm to themselves by embracing queer and transgender ideology or any other kind of evil ideology? If you truly love the individual, you would not. You would oppose these evil ideas and work to ensure that others were not captured by them, because they do indeed lead to grave harm. In fact, we have Archbishop Sample of the Archdiocese of Portland. He actually talks about this transgender ideology and how it leads to all kinds of problems. Some supporting aspects of social transition may seem benign, even humane, such as using someone's preferred pronouns and actively affirming his or her perceived gender. And that's exactly what Tennant tries to gaslight people into doing. Remember, he says that his wife, Georgia, teaches him about empathy and understanding. And that's exactly what His Excellency here is talking about, where there's people like Tennant that think that this is benign or even humane. And it's absolutely not, though. He says, however, while well-intentioned, this kind of endorsement may help shepherd a young person on a path of unnecessary medicalization. Social transition is often the first step towards hormones and surgery, A 2020 survey of transgender and non-binary youth found that 64% of respondents were either already receiving cross-sex hormones or desire to do so. Danish researchers who first used puberty blockers on gender dysphoric children found that social transition increased the likelihood that dysphoria would persist and result in medicalization. So everything that David Tennant is saying that he actually believes, it's not true, because he's not leaving people alone. He's pushing this ideology on people. He's accepting awards from a show that's actively trying to promote this type of stuff that is leading to harm against children, against other adults who have been brainwashed into this stuff. And he's been part of the brainwashing. He's part of it. His Doctor Who episodes that aired late last year are part of the propaganda to normalize this type of behavior and get people to do this. He wants more people to do this. He's doing this to his own child. He has a child that he and his wife claim is non-binary. He's a very sick individual. It is about harming people. And that's exactly what he's doing. He is harming people. Social transition can also include practices such as breast binding and genital tucking, both of which have been shown to have adverse effects on physical health, like testicular torsion and reduced fertility in males, and abnormal lung function and back pain in females. So there are obviously physical ailments that come from pushing this ideology and engaging in it. So David Tennant is lying. It's not common sense. It's the opposite. He's trying to gaslight you into like, oh, it's not really hurting anyone. It is. You are hurting people. You're hurting them emotionally. You're hurting them spiritually. And in many cases, you're hurting them physically. And then we have this here too. Noelle Mering, she's the author of Awake, Not Woke, a Christian response to the cult of progressive ideology. And she explains this whole like libertarian idea that you can just live and let live. It's just a catchphrase to hide real motivations, which is to obtain power and then impose their ideologies on others once they've obtained it. She said this during an interview with Catholic Answers in 2021. She said, the woke ideology fundamentally is not interested in debate. It's interested in domination. Not our nice woke Aunt Susan or our neighbor down the street necessarily, but the real radical ideologues who are driving the movement. It's really a movement based on power. And so I think for a long time, we've been trying to play catch up and thinking if we can dialogue and have more debate, have more open discussions, then perhaps we'll sway people to the truth. Well, the point of it isn't truth. It's power. I think we need to realize that and play catch up a bit, not to deploy the same tactics that they're deploying, but to understand what it is that we are dealing with. Their tactics are obviously to lie and gaslight and then use the levers of government and power to persecute those opposing them. Those are not good tactics. Lying is never morally right. She goes on to note how these ideologies have attempted to destroy the fabric of society as well. So again, there is no live and let live. These ideologies fundamentally attack you at a societal and even on a family and individual level. One of the more frustrating and the sinister parts, I think, of the movement is that they introduce a whole host of pathologies by targeting the family, targeting fatherhood, targeting motherhood, and then take the real wounds and the real social pathologies that result from this abuse and exploitation of the proper roles of men and women and the importance of the family. And then they exploit those wounds and then look to them as greater evidence for the need to further double down on attacking fatherhood, motherhood, and family life. She specifically used Harvey Weinstein and the Me Too movement as an example. She said, look at the Me Too movement. Harvey Weinstein was not. We don't get these types of predators from men striving to live lives of virtue and self-restraint and self-mastery. We get them from a society of people who are told that sex is meaningless, that there is no meaning to it other than consent. Consent is a very thin hinge to place morality on. It can't sustain the raging will of a human person who has not been led to virtue. So they've introduced all these pathologies and then point to them and say, aha, we need to fight the patriarchy even further. So it's doubling down on this type of pathology. And again, they use these levers of power to push this stuff to drive more and more people away from what is right, true, and just. And having our society be more about developing our fellow men in the virtues of self-restraint, self-mastery. So Tennant's speech is sickening, it's evil, it's disgusting, it's full of lies, and it should be rejected. But Badenoch's response is also quite repulsive because she engages in the same woke ideology, albeit to a lesser extent. She still couches her criticisms of Tennant by painting herself as a victim by using identity politics. She refers to herself as the only black woman. She paints him as a white male who's oppressing her. This is wrong. I don't think Tennant's comments had anything to do with her race, but clearly have more to do with the fact that she vocally opposes tenets of transgender ideology and stands in the way of the proponents of the ideology gaining more power in the United Kingdom. But she's still playing the game. She's playing this woke victim game. Same thing that he's doing. And that's not how you win. You can't win, as Noelle Mary says, by using their tactics. But those are my thoughts on this. Let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below. Remember to always be charitable, especially to each other, but to always speak the truth.